every form of life, and that includes human beings. And I want to thank you for the temperament that you've given each of us. I just pray that we would use it to the absolute greatest advantage for the glory of God and the kingdom of righteousness in this world. Thank you for those who are here tonight. In Jesus' name, amen. We're glad to have Jennifer with us tonight. She comes to our Thursday night class, which we're not going to have for the next 2 weeks, but let me just tell you that the Thursday night class is open to anybody that wants to come. Right now we're going through Old Testament survey, and you're welcome to come sit in on the class. We set up some tables here, and it's a PowerPoint thing, and so you're welcome to come. Betty, you had your hand up. I'm sorry. Oh, my goodness. All right. And also, Jack is having orthoscopic knee surgery Thursday, correct? Over in Bradenton. So let's pray. That's an outpatient surgery these days. That's my word. Anyway, pray for a good outcome. And he's had a struggling time with that knee. All right. In your handout here, look at your first page. I need simple. I like simple. And so the second page is just what makes you tick, and the top left-hand corner is, well, I'm kind of looking at it myself. It's sanguine, but it's hard to read because of the color. We're going to be talking about the sanguine tonight, and their strengths are listed at the top, the weaknesses at the bottom, and so we won't get into that now because we're going to cover that later. Then we get into the powerful choleric. The top two are extroverts. The bottom two are introverts. The top two are relational and organizational. The bottom two are, the phlegmatic is like a counselor, very low-key, easy to get along with everybody. And the melancholy is your thinker. They overthink things sometimes, as a matter of fact. They overanalyze. But they are brilliant people. It's from this type that the geniuses come. And so anyway, those are the quick review. And then on the next sheet, there's a personality profile. This is an extended version of the locator quiz that we did last week. And I heard one of the funniest quotes this week about this. May I share that or may I not? John? We were at breakfast Friday morning. John comes to breakfast, and I meet with a couple of guys, and John we were talking about the series, and he said, man, I felt pretty good about myself till I took that test. He said, now I think I'm a freaking psychopath. I nearly fell in the floor. That was so funny. I'm feeling pretty good about myself. And so this is an extent. Yeah. But this is an extended version of that. And you fill this one out differently. Now, the quiz that we did last week is divided into the types, all right? This is not. And the way you do this one, the top 20 are strengths. The bottom 20 are weaknesses. So you go to line 1, and you're only going to check one on each of these lines, just one, all right? So you're either animated, adventurous, analytical, or adaptable. And then number 2, and so you check one, and then on the back side, if I can get it to turn, this is your scoring sheet. This is divided into the types. And so you go down. If you were animated, you check that one. And so all of those are sanguine strengths. The bottom are sanguine weaknesses. And you go to the second column, all of those top and bottom, choleric, then melancholy, and then add this up at the bottom. Now, Jennifer just showed me the one that she did, very thoroughly done, by the way. She looked up terms and everything. And she had, I think, 16 melancholy and 15 phlegmatic. And so chances are we've got a melancholy phlegmatic. And if you know her, that pretty much fits with her temperament type. And but we'll get into the specifics. And then your last sheet it looks complicated, but it's really not. The top, you see the SC, that's sanguine choleric. And if you look, see the middle line, the heavy vertical line? At the top of it, there's a cross that says lead. And so if you're sanguine choleric, you're going to be a good leader. Now go to the bottom. You've got your phlegmatic melancholy on the bottom. And look at the cross line. It says analyze. That's the strength of the phlegmatic choleric, or melancholy rather. And so these are natural blends. The top two are natural blends. The bottom two are natural blends. Now, notice the crosses, the X in the middle. You see where it's got the opposite is the sanguine melancholy? That is not a birth temperament combination. That's a mask. And then on the other side, the phlegmatic choleric. Could you imagine a choleric phlegmatic? If you know the types, it's like, that's an oxymoron, and that's exactly what it is. And so, anyway, we're going to cover all of this before our series is over. But tonight, Anna, can I have the back? There she is. There she is. Can I have that back screen? Okay. It lets me know this thing is working. So now, from our quiz last week, how many of you had at least 5 or more sanguine traits? All right, Anna, John, Lyle. All right, when you look at people that say I had a majority of sanguine traits, is 2 and 2 4? I mean, do you know anybody? Lyle is as sanguine as it gets, you know. When you see Lyle, it's like, hey, how you doing? Oh, it's great. And I love being around the guy. And so you can just look at people and tell, okay, that fits them exactly. So what we'll do is take a quick look at sanguines are best at dealing with people enthusiastically. They don't dread being around people. They're not the ones that are like, oh my goodness, I've got to give a talk. They're like, oh wow, yes, I get to talk to 400 people today. They love doing that. It just feeds them. They are also really good in expressing thoughts with excitement. Sanguines are a lot like Italians. If you tied their hands, they'd mumble. You know what I'm saying? But they're animated. They're pointing to what they're talking about. When they say car, it's like we don't know what a car is, and I'm guilty of that. A car, and we'll put the wheels on it, and so we're drawing pictures with our hands because nobody understands in our minds. Exactly right. In upfront positions of attention, sanguines love it for the purpose of making people feel relaxed, making people feel good about being there. They want people to feel valuable and worthy of things, and so they just simply love attention. And so when you see people that enter a room mouth first, they are the ones that have bright, colorful clothes. You won't see them wearing a whole lot of dark, muted, sandstone, dark colors. They want to stand out even in what they wear, and so they're good at that. All right. More of the 4, we're going to give a real quick intro and then get specifically into the choleric. How many of you had at least 5 choleric? 1. Go ahead. Yeah, right here. Right there. Stacy. All right. Okay. All right. And they need to be pointed out. So you guys are best at jobs that require quick decisions. Really quick, snap, instant decisions. They make good military leaders. They make good doctors. They make good any position that requires a decision right now. Sanguines don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, so they're like, it doesn't matter whatever you want to do. It just really doesn't matter to me. That's your sanguine. The melancholy is like, well, we got to research this, and we got to get online, and we got to Google this thing, and we got to get the charts and the graphs, and they'll be forever making a decision. But when they make it, guess what? It's right. It's going to be the correct decision. And then the phlegmatic is like, I don't need to make it. I'll tell you tomorrow. I'm going to take a nap right now. And so they are in spots that need instant action and decisiveness. You guys are outstanding in this area. Now, the way you announce your conclusion sometimes is not the most receptive, I said do it now, so the tone has an awful lot to do with the way, how effective a leader you're going to be. In areas that demand strong control and authority, I don't want to be in control of anybody. I don't see the need in wanting to control people, but a choleric in the center of God's will does this wonderfully well. I mean, they make you want to follow them because they know what they're doing. So there's the choleric. I need to change that. Apparently, they love control. They want to control the ship. Then we get to these guys are geniuses. You melancholies, and how many melancholies? I know we got one. Oh wow, we got a bunch of geniuses in here. You are best in attention to details and deep thinking. You will think something through and you'll find out, you read receipts, right? You melancholies, you actually read receipts and you find, hey, they charged that. I didn't get the 10% discount. I'm going back in there. And so, the husband or the wife going to stop the car, turn around and go back in the parking lot and, excuse me, sir, do I not, oh yeah, I'm sorry about that. And it's great. Stacy saved us all kind of money through the years doing stuff like that. So you're great at that. In keeping records, charts, graphs, checkbooks. How many melancholies in here keep your financial records at home? Okay, there you go. You're good at it. Don't give it to the sanguine. He'll lose a checkbook. I'm just telling you. And then the melancholy is great at analyzing problems too difficult for other people. This is why you want a melancholy doctor, because he won't just take the first diagnosis that comes. He's going, well, I'll tell you what, there's a test I want us to do. I want to dig into this a little more. And so they're great at doing that. So they are the geniuses. They love to think. They love to be by themselves. They don't need people. If you're melancholy, put you in the back office, turn the light out, put a candle on your desk, and give you 5 years worth of records to go through, you'll be perfectly fine. When you were a kid, your parents could keep you happy by throwing a box of marbles in the floor and telling you to pick them all up and, 1,000 marbles, and you were perfectly fine with that. You enjoy you don't want attention. You don't want anybody calling your name. You just want the job done. How? Well. And if you're not going to do it right, what? Don't do it at all. Exactly. That's exactly right. And then, behind curtain number 4, the phlegmatics. The phlegmatic is best in positions of mediation and unity. If you want a calming hand that doesn't come in with this pre-registered notion of who's guilty and who's innocent, they'll just let people have their say, and we just want to get along and want to calm things down. They're good at that. In storms that need this calming hand, they're good at that. In routines that seem dull to other people, they make great workers on assembly lines. Things that need to be done the same way, at the same pace. Y'all remember the Lucy episode of Lucy and Ethel working on the chocolate? They apparently were not designed for that. Oh my goodness. Lucy was eating them. She was stuffing them down her shirt. Yeah, it was hilarious. Of course, she was anything but that. And so you phlegmatics just want to relax. Tomorrow's going to be a really busy day. And yeah, that's on my schedule. And you know what I'm talking about if you have that. All right, now, I don't know if you can see that real well or not, but this is just another quick overview. Top left is sanguine, top right choleric, and you've got the strengths of each, and then the bottom left is melancholy, bottom right is phlegmatic, and some of the strengths there, all right? So that's a sort of a quick review. So let's do this. Let's tee this up. Here comes sunshine. If you have a dominant number of sanguine strengths, all right, this is one of the most important things I think about this study is your weaknesses are your strengths carried to extreme, okay? So whatever your weakness is, it's not different than your strength. It's just too much of your strength. For instance, the sanguine is good at telling stories, Can you carry that too far? Telling jokes, being funny, can you carry that too far? Now, if you're sanguine, you're like, well, you carry it too far. What are you talking about? But if you're not a sanguine, you're like, oh, yeah. And it doesn't take long to run out. You have to make a joke about everything. And especially if you have a sanguine spouse and you're trying to deal with something on a serious level and your sanguine spouse is always dropping these humorous bombs, does that get a little annoying? No? Oh, well, just keep it up then. Let's just keep it going. So let's take a look at the popular sanguine. Sanguines raise the energy level wherever they go. Now, I don't know about you, but there are times when I want that. There are times when I'm in a meeting or I'm somewhere and it's just so grindingly slow. Nobody has anything to say. Have you ever been in an awkward situation like that? You're sitting at a table, nobody's saying anything. You're at a meeting, there's just dead silence. You're waiting for something to happen. You're sitting at a table with other participants. Nobody's saying anything, and then this guy comes in. And immediately, it just raises the energy level because he's going to be asking questions about you. Hey, where'd you get that shirt? I like that, man. You look good. And so they want to find out about the people that they're dealing with. And so learn their names. And one of the first things that a sanguine will do, like when you go to a restaurant or you're in a store, somebody will come to the table and I want to know, what's your name? Now, I'm not going to call you hey. I'm not going to call you server. I want to know what your name is. Now, if you go to Manny's, this is the only reason I go to Manny's, they write their name on the table. So you never have to worry about who's serving you. And they write it where you can read it. And so, yeah, they want to interact on a personal level. So they are good at that. They enter a room usually with a big laugh or a big, hey, how you doing? That's what the sanguine is going to do. So they make already, now we already know these people make good greeters at a store. They make good frontline people. You want your business or you want your church to be represented initially by a sanguine, okay? Frank is a great sanguine guy, and when he's not just out there for security reasons. When he comes in, he's going to talk to you. He's going to get up. He's going to shake your hand. He's going to smile at you. He's going to insult you from time to time too, which I love. And so they've got this forever. Will they ever grow up? Probably not. Can your temperament ever change? No. Now, can you be a more serious sanguine? Yes. But you will never be anything but a sanguine. All right? It's like if you had a bar of soap and you carve a penguin out of the bar of soap and you don't like that, and you cut that off and you make a snake out of it. You've got a different animal, but you got the same bar of soap. And so, yes, you can become better. You can become worse, whatever the strength or weakness is, but you're always going to be that. And so the best thing for me to do, instead of saying, boy, I wish I had some of that and I wish I was more like this person, I will never be. But can I up my game? Absolutely. I can change me, which is the very goal. And so they're the life of the party. You go to a party, you go to an outfit, a dinner arrangement or something, and normally this person, whether they're male or female, people are gathered around them laughing, having a good time, and other folks are doing other things, but the sanguine is just sort of the hub of it all. And they have memory for the color of a situation, not necessarily the details. So if you're sanguine, you have an undeveloped memory. Have you noticed that? You don't remember and the older you get, the worse it'll get. I don't think your sanguine is increasing. I think that's just a sign of age right there. Hey, make it. If you're sanguine, you make it up. Yeah. They are. They're well, as well as anybody. There are a lot of things that the way they happened, that was boring. It's kind of a black and white event. And so what do you do to black and white events? Yeah, put a little color in there, exactly. Yeah. And here's what they will remember. They're very expressive, captivating speakers and writers. Have you ever heard a speaker speak and they just bore you to tears? I mean, it's just like that. And then there are other folks that could talk about anything, global warming or some hoax like that, and they can just make it so fascinating. They can draw you in. And you do that with a number of methods. Eye contact, there are a lot of ways we teach this over at school, as a matter of fact. experts say you've got 18 seconds to capture an audience. When you first stand up, you've got 18 seconds. And if you have not captured them in the first 18 seconds, probably you're not going to get them back on board. And so you do that with a number of methods or some ways to just grab an audience and anchor them to your subject. And so these people are really, really, Ronald Reagan was a captivating speaker. And he was called the great communicator for a reason. He was sanguine. And he knew how to tell a joke. He knew how to be funny. And when you do that, you're not, those are methods that you can use, not just to be funny. People love to laugh. And especially if you tell a joke about who? Yourself. All right? If you make yourself the butt of the joke, that is a very magnetic thing to do. People will come to your rescue. It's like if you have ever seen Blazing Saddles. I think he means it. And so they love to entertain, love to make people laugh. And even on their social media sites, it's a joke, it's funny. I've got some friends on Facebook that just crack me up. Bill Driggers is one of them from Arkansas. Great sense of humor. And when I see Bill has added or done something, I go to his page because it's usually something really funny. And then we've got folks in here. You don't want to entertain anybody. That's the furthest thing from your mind. I don't want anybody laughing, I've got work to do. Excuse me, y'all tell your jokes. I'm going to go get some real big boy work done or big girl work done. All right. So, the popular sanguine, they don't remember details, dates, or events. Did you know you were supposed to? Yes. Oh, man, I've had a bunch of situations like that. And so and we don't write stuff down because we think we can what? Remember it. Yeah, I remember that. Stacey tells me that all the time. Won't you write that down? I'm like, I don't need to write that down. Well, yeah, I need to write that down because if I don't, it's going to be gone forever. My dad forgot a wedding one time. Pastored Eastside, and somebody called the house and said, "Where's your dad?" And I remember saying, I don't know. He said, well, he's supposed to marry me or whatever. And they had to get somebody else to go do it. Dad forgot all about it and felt terrible. But anyway, they don't remember details, but here's what they will remember. They will remember the guy that fell going up the steps. Just the outstanding Mount Everest emotional situations. I can look out on this crowd. And I can remember you being in some funny situations, some of you. That's what and if I'm gone 30 years from now, I'm living somewhere else, and your name pops up, that's the event I'll remember. The funny stuff. All right, this is a true story. Florence LaTower is the lady that really kind of lit my fuse about the temperaments, and she did this probably 35 or 40 years ago. When we were in school, we had Dr. Robert Ashcraft was our teacher. I forget, methods of teaching maybe or something like that. And we had a textbook called The Spirit Controlled Temperament, and it was by Tim LaHaye. Now, I like Tim LaHaye, but he's boring to me. Brilliant man, but he's boring. And we read through this book, and I yawned through every page. It was just like, what is this all about? And then I got a hold of some material by a lady by the name of Florence LaTower. And she's sanguine. And she had some materials and some tapes and some books. And I went to hear her speak one time. She made me laugh. And I fell in love with the subject. I said, that is the greatest stuff I've ever heard as far as people, relational type skills are concerned. Anyway, her and her husband, Fred, were conducting a temperament seminar in New York. And she was giving an illustration from the platform. All right, and this is the way it played out. She said, if a sanguine volunteered to make the coffee for the break tonight, they would have forgotten to plug the coffee pot in. At that moment, a sanguine woman screamed, jumped up, and ran down the aisle to the kitchen because she was in charge of making the coffee, and she forgot to plug the coffee pot up. And so she was all excited, about the temperament thing, but forgot to do her job. Now, question, can somebody this lovable actually have any weaknesses? They'll have a tendency to agree with you, my brother. Well, now look at this. How many of you live with a sanguine? Now, I saw the way you raised that hand there. What are some of the, I'm going to open this thing up here because we need help. What are some things that bother you, that annoy you about your sanguine spouse? And feel free, at least Stacy can. I'm not going to speak for anybody else. Stacy, what are some things that bother you about me? Thank you very much. Anybody else have any? All right. No, do what? I'm messy and I forget things. All right. Okay. Same thing. All right. Okay. Can't find something. There's disagreement on the platform. All right. He raises sand. All right. Anybody else? This is your chance. All right. Actually, yes, we can be very annoying, and we do have weaknesses. When we don't know where to draw the line. I remember when Devin was home, he's very phlegmatic. Devin never knew where to draw the line. His mom would get annoyed, and I would tell him, I said, Devin, dude, you need to know where the stop sign is. Your mom's getting mad at you. And he didn't care. Either he didn't care, wasn't listening. I mean, he keep right on going. You know, and I can see, y'all know what a pressure cooker is? You know? And it kind of starts whistling a little bit when, you know, yeah, exactly. The bobber valve is bouncing like this. And her bobber valve is bouncing. I'm like, Devin, dude, you need to stop. Oh, he just keep right on going. And so sanguines can agonize over decisions because they're afraid it'll be wrong. Where do you want to go to dinner? I don't care. Where do you want to go? That's not what I asked. Where do you want to go? I said, I really don't care. And you say, well, why? Are they indecisive? Well, yeah, why? They don't want anybody to disagree with them and get hurt. They don't want their feelings to be hurt. They don't want to be accountable for a failed situation. So if you say, well, I want to go to this restaurant, and you go there, and it's a bust, guess whose fault that is? So, yeah, do what? It's her fault. Okay. I got you. And so, for fear it'll be wrong. It says, sanguines agonize over decisions for fear it will be wrong. Okay, all right. They are terrible with financial details and records. Never, ever, under any circumstances, give the checkbook to a sanguine. I'm not being funny. That's exactly what the melancholy is for. Exactly right. And they have the patience. They have the capacity to understand things that are too difficult for other people to understand. They enjoy that. Jamie enjoys it. He's a CPA. He deals with this stuff, and talk to him about, was it QuickBooks or spreadsheet? Yeah, spreadsheets. And I'm like, oh man, I think he means it. That would be me. But if you're a melancholy, you love the challenge of, say, doing something as simple as balancing a checkbook, because you want it to be right. You want everything about your finances to be right. Now, should that be appreciated? Oh, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And I don't want to be responsible for that, The sanguine doesn't want to be responsible because they have jokes to tell. And they have things to do. You know what I'm saying? That are more important than the money issue here. They hate to discipline their children because they want to be friends with their kid. They don't want their kids mad at them, and so they have a tendency to let the kids get away with more than say, a choleric or melancholy parent would let the children get away with. They love colorful, fashionable clothes and accessories. That's just what you like. It's part of your persona, and some people don't care what they wear. Other folks are very interested, very concerned about, their appearance, and the sanguine is that. They love to talk with or without information. It doesn't matter. You get in a situation with a sanguine, and they'll and whether it's true or not really doesn't matter. It's just an exercise in their vocal skills. And like Jamie said, you get around some people, and they'll tell you the same story. Now, sometimes it may just be a memory issue, but there are times when that's all they have to talk about, and so they're going to make sure you hear it again. And they'll tell the same story over and over and over and over. And so that's the saying. They're easily overwhelmed with workloads. We don't multitask real well. If you're talking to a sanguine, don't do this. Here's what I need you to do. I need you to go to the bank. I need you to go to the store and get some roast beef. I need you to go to the real estate office. Don't do that.
I send Jenny a text.
Yeah, if it's enumerated. I agree with you, Jamie. And so if you want, now there are times when if it's really significant stuff, write this down, and that's a challenge for me. And for some of you guys, that's just your normal. You fall out of bed organized, just every day. You know exactly what you're going to do. You know what needs to be done. And sanguine, you know what that means? Shoot from the hip. And if you shoot from the hip, sometimes you're going to hit the target. Sometimes you're not. Now, more likely than not, the other temperament, specifically the melancholy, is going to hit the target because they are prepared. They've done their homework, and they are normally exactly right, and I'm grateful for that. So, the sanguine weaknesses. Can you see that real well? All right. It is. It's sanguine weaknesses. It's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. If you have a sanguine friend, now if you're in their presence, they're all about you. If you're not in their presence, they'll forget you. And so they're not being mean. They're very circumstantial. And what's going on right now is the most important thing. And so if you're with them right now, you have their full attention. But if not, then it's not the number one thing on their list to think about. All right, the sanguine strengths, and you can't read what? Well, I can't read. Yeah, it won't back up. Okay. Well, all right, let me get up here. I'll get up here and read them, okay? All right. Okay, now it's more in focus. Thank you, babe. All right. We're undisciplined. We are restless, unproductive, disorganized, brassy, repetitious, egocentric, fearful, loud, forgetful, unpredictable, fly by the seat of our pants. We exaggerate. We're weak-willed, wordy, over the top, scatterbrained, and we interrupt. All the time. All the time. Now, that's not complimentary, but that's just the truth. Now, all of those are just strengths carried to extreme. And I mentioned this, I think, last week. When I'm in my weaknesses, the Scripture refers to that as being in the flesh. That's as good as I can get. You understand that? As a human being, that is as good as I can get. Now, when I'm functioning in the power of the Holy Spirit, I'm functioning in my strengths. And that's what I can be, but I don't always function over there. And the red flags, when you're stepping into your weakness, you know it. You know exactly when you're being whatever your weakness is. And I really didn't know I could get up there and read that. I mean that clearly. Now, this is just a repetition. All right. Now, let me get up and let me read these, all right? Get up here. Now, if you're sanguine, don't be down on yourself and say, oh, yeah, I'm just this loudmouth sanguine. Here's some of your strengths. You're animated. You're playful. You're sociable. You're convincing. You're inspiring. You're spirited. You're funny. A talker. You're spontaneous. You're demonstrative. You're a people person. You're popular. You're bouncy. You're cute. You mix easily. You're optimistic. And you are a promoter. If you want somebody to sell something or represent something, I'm just telling you, get this guy or this gal. And they are going to be the representatives. Like, again, when you go to Walmart, you want a sanguine greeter out there. And there's a guy out there right now that is, and his name is Leonard. And he's just he's a Christian guy. Had an opportunity to talk with him on a couple of occasions. He's just a tremendous Christian gentleman. And so you're a social butterfly. If you're a sanguine, this is your strength. All right. Now, if you're in a group of strangers for 2 or 3 hours, more than likely by the end of the evening, you're going to know everybody. You're going to know where they live, how many kids they have, what they did for a living, what they do for a living. You're going to know that because you have a need to interact with people. All right, this is something that feeds you, and that. 5 minutes later, though, who are you talking to? I forgot his name. You're exactly right. You're exactly right, Anna. Right. Well, the older he gets and the more he matures, he'll turn that around and turn that curiosity to other people. Right. Yep. The interaction, the need for interaction is really crucial for this temperament type. They need to talk to people, and so don't try to hold them back from that. That's like trying to hold a melancholy back from thinking and being organized. You can't do that.
This was such a conflict for me as a young boy. We had a ranch. Somebody knew my grandpa would hire somebody. They'd come. I'd kind of want to know what the name was, that sort of thing. If they lasted till noon, my grandpa didn't run off. They might last the rest of the week. But and that crushed me. I didn't understand that.
Yep. Can't understand who he was, so he was.
He always finds somebody that's related to him somehow.
Well, they have the most friends, and they make friends easily. Have you ever been around somebody that you just felt was a little? I don't know if they want me to talk to them. I don't know. They're just a little standoffish, and you won't have that problem with the sanguine. And they are one of the extroverts, and the choleric is the other. And so let's review just a little bit. Why does a choleric want to be up front? Want to be in charge. Wants to tell people what to do, how to do it. Why does a sanguine want to be up front? To entertain, exactly. And to inspire and encourage. And the choleric, and I'm not saying that either one of those is doing the wrong thing. That's just their approach. When they're up in front of people, they have a different approach to it. They are very pleasant people. They're warm. They're congenial people. And wherever you go, they're going to entertain. They can bring comfort without humiliation. They can confront without making people feel like idiots. and they can put an insulation around the situation and talk to the person without them. It's like when you talk with a sanguine and they have to get on to you about something, you thank them when it's over. Yeah, man, I appreciate that. And so they're good at that, and they rarely show resentment, and they want to see other people serve and do well. Want to be the best possible. As a matter of fact, all of the temperaments, when each person is functioning in the power of the Holy Spirit, that's their goal. They want to see you do well. That's why the choleric is hard on people. Why? Are they being mean? No. They want to see you excel. And sometimes they may have a hard time getting that across. It may sound like a personal attack, but when they're in the center of the Lord's will, they just are simply trying to promote you and for you to be the best you can. Melancholy is the same way. Phlegmatic is the same way. And that's the natural tendency of these temperament types. All right, now as parents, let's run through this real quickly. If you're a sanguine parent, how many of you had sanguine parents? My dad was a sanguine. My mom, you had a sanguine parent, all right? Very sanguine? Okay. So this might ring a bell. There you go. Okay. All right. Thank you, Jennifer. All your kids' friends want to come to your house because they know they're going to have fun, and not going to be treated like they're at a Nazi concentration camp. Somebody's going to really laugh with them, have a good time with them. Sanguine parents, they make home fun. Your home is not a museum. I picked that up, and I realize a home need to be neat and clean, all that kind of stuff. But don't make it where your kids hate to come home, or your grandkids. Oh my goodness, you go there, she's the litter Nazi, or he's the, don't do that. And so we're messy, so we don't really care, at least right now, about that kind of thing. So you're liked by your children's friends. If you are that, you turn disaster into humor. And one of the things that attracted me to Florence LaTower, she could tell this most ridiculous story about losing her car in a multi-level parking garage. Now, some people get mad. I mean, they'd get spitting mad if they couldn't find a car. But she turned it into this 30-minute, it was hilarious to hear her tell at the people she met, and she'd stop, she'd just talk to people, and Fred was like, he was very, very choleric, and he got a little upset about it because she was stopping and meeting all these people, but they can turn disaster into humor, and they're basically like the circus master. They coordinate all the fun, and you want your friends to be around them because you think they'll think I'm as cool as my dad is, so there's kind of this association. And so there's the sanguine parent. All right? As workers, if you are, yes, sir. Well, okay. What else is a guy going to do, I guess? Now, as a worker, you volunteer for everything. I'll do that. I'll take care of that for you. Now, if we don't write it down, guess what? That's exactly right. It's that we think up new activities and projects. One of the things about a sanguine is they have great ideas about how to change the world. So they'll have 100 brand new ideas, but you know how many of them get implemented? Maybe one. We have the ideas. We're waiting for the choleric to step in and, carve this thing into fruition. But they think up great new ideas, new projects, new exciting things, and they look great on the surface. They're dressed well. They look like they've got it all together. They're laughing. They're these great people. They're creative. They're colorful. They're full of energy and enthusiasm. They start in a flashy way. They inspire other people to join the force. They can charm other people to work. All right, not necessarily lead them to work, but they can charm them because people want to be around you. And so they figure they volunteer to be on your team or in your group. You know, they're going to have a great time, and probably will. Now, you might not get all your work done, but you're going to have a good time. And so these are, they're magnetic people. And if you, how many of you work with a sanguine? You got one? I'm sure you probably got a bunch out there. You enjoy being around them. You work with one. Brother Tom works with a sanguine pretty closely. All right. Now, what about sanguine as friends? Okay. They make friends easily. Now, there are some people that you have to really invest a lot of energy to ever get into the vestibule of their life. You know what I'm saying? There's a price to pay for entering the vestibule. This person, it's just the door is instantly open. It's like an automatic. They welcome anybody and everybody to come in and be their friend. They love people, not for anything that they do for them or bring to the table. They love people for the fact that they're people. And they thrive on compliments. You want to encourage, and one of the things that we'll do in the series, there are some ways to encourage and discourage. And you've got to know the types. If you know the temperament types, if you know their strengths, you know how to encourage them. For instance, Jack, you're a choleric. All right, no nonsense, shoot him between the eyes kind of guy. And so if I walked up to Jack and said something like, Jack, I just want you to know, brother, you are the funniest, goofiest, most off-the-wall, unpredictable person that I know in my life. Would that compliment you? No. That goes contrary to his very nature. He doesn't want to be known as that. But if I tell him something like, brother, I want you to know I appreciate your leadership. When you make a decision, it is right. Things are going to be done right. And I want you to know I appreciate that. Is that a different ball game? That's a completely different ball game. And so when you know the temperament types, you know what to say to them. You know how to encourage them. You also know how to discourage them. And so if you're of the mind, you can just tear somebody to pieces by knowing what to say or knowing what to withhold from saying. And so, but this person thrives on compliments. Compliments of what? Okay, not necessarily their work ethic. I appreciate that, you know. Now, that would just fire Jack and Brother Tom up and Lorraine and the rest of you melancholy cholerics to compliment your work ethic. So if you have a melancholy choleric child, if you have a sanguine child, you know how to build them. If you know their temperament bend and what type they are, you know how to build them. And they seem exciting. They're envied by other people because not everybody has this easy to get to know kind of a temperament, and they prevent, oh my word, they'll prevent dull moments. Now, this can get annoying. If you're on an airplane for 6 or 7 hours and you're sitting next to an uncontrolled sanguine, I've been aggravated before. You know, there have been times when I just want, okay, dude, can you just shut up? Or do they ever shut up on your planet? You know, that's kind of what you're thinking. And so I need to be very careful because if I am, let's say I'm with Brother Tom and we're flying to California, you know what I know that I can't do for 6 or 7 hours or however long it takes to get out there? He don't want to do that. You know, he'll want to read his Bible. Huh? Yeah. You can talk as much as you want, I guess. But, you know how to build and you know how to encourage if you know what their type is. And so they love spontaneous activities. Now, if you're melancholy, this is not your thing. Well, no, we didn't plan to do that today. That's not on the schedule. Well, I know, but can we just, well, it's not on the schedule for today. And so this is one of the things that sanguines find enjoyable. Hey, let's go to Georgia. What? You know, let's do. You know, and sometimes it can be a little crazy with the boundaries, but because they're not the real organized type of an individual. Now, we're getting ready to close up on the sanguine here. We can be vain. We can be complacent. We can love what we look like. And again, if you want to compliment a sanguine, tell them, man, you look sharp today. I like that. It looks good. And that's a big part of the persona of a sanguine. Now, to tell a choleric that's going to be like water off a duck's back. And so you wouldn't need to do that. And there's some people that you can hug. Some people don't need it. You know who needs a hug? A sanguine and a phlegmatic. A choleric and a melancholy. Oh, we got folks in here. I don't shake hands all. I like to just hug people. That's just my way of saying, hey, how you doing? But there's some people that they just don't need that. They shake their hand and go on, and that's fine. That's their distance. That's their personal spaces they feel good at, and that needs to be honored. You can't leave them alone. Don't leave them alone. They'll tear something up. They'll mess something up. And often their decisions are wrong. But we try to be so choleric, and we make stupid decisions. And really, a choleric will look at you and go, "Really?" And so it's like, why don't you ever make any decisions? And then you make a decision, and you're like, "You did that?" Well, you might be afraid to make a decision because you've made so many wrong ones in the past. And so they take success for granted because they're optimistic, right? You know what I think? I think maybe tomorrow the bank will call us and say, hey, look, your house is paid off. Is that really going to happen? That's not really going to happen, but they're the eternal optimists about things, and they have little understanding of how annoying they can be. I think I do. I don't think I know how annoying I can be. Probably as your pastor, there have been times when you've been sitting there listening to me, and you're like, I know it. I know that. And there are times when Stacy's like, now she can be a little more vocal than you can, and that's okay. That's allowed. And so we really have little understanding of how annoying we can be. We have jealousy tendencies. If we hear somebody else be complimented for being funny, we're like, oh, I'm funnier than they are. They're just these little tendencies to be jealous about practically everything. And we rarely internalize conflict. Now, melancholy, they're going to internalize the conflict, and they'll be depressed for years or weeks or months. You remember what you said? When? About 3 years ago. What? Really? 3 years ago? And this will be in their conscience for a long, long time. Sanguine, like John said a while ago, 5 minutes they forgot it. They don't remember that at all, and so they rarely internalize. Now, can this be a weakness? Let's say here's a sanguine man. He's got a melancholy wife, and he hurts her feelings. Well, he gets over it. He's willing to forget it. She's not, and exactly right. And we ask the question, what's wrong? And as well as I do, when your spouse says, especially if it's a woman, you're married to this lady, and you come in and you just sense, you know what I'm saying? Y'all know what I mean? There's just this, and you say, honey, what's wrong? And if she says, nothing. Well, not only is that not true, but you're why she's upset, all right? You're the cause of it. And so here's her little sanguine lady here. They're the one that takes selfies, and they post this stuff all over the place. And I laugh. We're all adults here, but it tickles me to death when people try to be sexy. I laugh at that, and these people take the pictures, and they're like, and they're looking over the top of their glasses, or they got that hip cocked out like that, and I'm like, well, go to a chiropractor and get that fixed. What is the matter with you? And well, they love the way they look, and so there she is. She's all about herself, totally. And so finally, let's do a quick overview, and we're going to be done. They're easily excited about external influences. All right, outside things, external things, they get excited about that. They react quickly, and their impressions are short-lived, like Irene said, very, very quickly. We appear superficial because we are. Yeah, exactly right. That's right. They're fickle in their ideas, their opinions, their resolutions. Flip-flop, because they find it hard to make a decision and stick with it. They rarely internalize their focus, and their attention is on the external. Now, is there a time for appearances to be important? Yeah, absolutely. Is there a time for internal significant things to be important? Absolutely. And so it works in conjunction. They are full of optimism, even in the face of negative probability. Probably the bank is not going to call you tomorrow and say, hey, I woke up this morning just feeling good. And Sarah, you're probably not going to do that tomorrow. You call somebody? No, I didn't think so. And so they just love to entertain and make people laugh. This is...
What was wrong with Robert Williams? Was he a sanguine or not?
He was a sanguine that got overwhelmed with depression. Yeah. And that was one of the most oxymoronic things. Robin Williams that hung himself. And he was just a ping pong. He was. Every TV interview I ever saw, he never was serious. You know, he was always impersonating people, and the host of the show was just falling in the floor. Yeah, it was just a constant thing. And then when I found out, what? He did what? And he'd been dealing with depression for a long, long time. So it just lets you know how powerful personality masks can be. And toward the end of the series, we're gonna look at this thing of masking. And so some people don't understand their temperament because they've covered up what they really are. Their God-given temperament type, they've covered it up for so many years to try to camouflage for some sort of a dysfunctional situation. And a choleric doesn't make a good sanguine. And a sanguine doesn't make a good melancholy. You can't do that. Eventually, it's just gonna break out on you. And so we're gonna look at some causes. Why do people do that? Why don't you just be what you are? And there are some reasons for that. All right, anybody have anything you want to say before we go? Thank you for being here tonight. I appreciate it very, very much. And then next Sunday night, we'll jump into the choleric and talk about that group. All right, now we're losing some people this week, right? Pardon? Okay, you'll be gone. Paul and Brenda are going to be gone. Y'all, let's pray for Brenda. She's got some issues with his gallbladder, right? And she wasn't feeling good this morning, and she's going to be sitting on an airplane for a lot of hours, and they're going to be doing a lot of walking over there. So let's pray that she won't have any issues with that gallbladder while they're gone. That would not be good at all. All right. Now, Dale, y'all are leaving? When are y'all leaving? Sometime in April. Yes. Oh, I thought somebody was leaving this week. I should have written that down. I'm sorry, yeah. Oh, I love this. I love this. Okay. Oh, so that's a couple of weeks. Okay. All right. I don't know.